and Bill Hall, welcome back. God blesses those who gathers in his name. Having a bit of trouble with my voice today, just getting over kind of a bronchial infection kind of thing that, it's that time of year. Uh, it comes every year on me. So I may not sound great, but that's okay. That doesn't stop the Lord's word must be heard. So I hope you'll bear with me. Today, when we open the pages of Scripture, especially the Old Testament, we see something striking. God is not distant. He's not silent. We hear him all the time. He's not hidden in the background. He's in the story. He's speaking to Abraham, calling Moses by name, Job, walking with Israel in the wilderness, correcting, guiding, warning, comforting. His presence is woven into the narrative like a father walking beside his children. And yet, when we look at our world today, we don't see that same kind of direct interaction, do we? Now, we don't hear his voice thunder from a mountain, and we don't see prophets standing in the streets calling down fire. We don't witness seas parting or manna falling. And it raises a question many believers quietly carry. What's changed? Not God, not his love, not his desire to dwell with his people. So what happened? To understand this, I'm going to take just a couple of minutes and take us through, three scriptures, one from the prophets, one from historical books, and one from the mouth of Jesus himself. Together they form a single thread that leads us from the ancient world to our world today. Let's go to the book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8. He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? Micah doesn't say God hid what he wanted. He showed it. He revealed it plainly. He walked with his people like a father teaching a young child how to walk, hand in hand, step by step. In the early pages of Scripture, humanity is spiritually young. God speaks directly because the child is still learning to stand, still learning to listen, and still learning to trust. Micah reminds us God's desire has always been simple: justice, mercy, humility, and walk with him. Not complicated, not unreachable, just a relationship grounded in obedience. That word. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. Obey is better than sacrifice. This is the moment where the father looks at the child and says, I'm not asking for your performance. I'm asking for your heart. You see, Israel had begun to drift. They still offered sacrifices, traditions, rituals. They kept their rituals. But obedience, the listening, trusting, following heart, was slipping away. And here's where my analogy comes in. I'll tell you in just a moment. A father teaches his child. He gives instruction. He guides. But as the child grows, something happens. The child becomes independent. The child begins to think, I know better. I can do this my way. And the father, still loving, still present, steps back because he's absent because the child is no longer listening. Not separated, not abandoned, just unheard. The father's voice hasn't changed. The child's ears have. This is Israel's story. And if we're honest, it's ours too. Let's go on up into the New Testament with the book of John 14, verse 15. Jesus says, "If you love me, keep my commandments." Notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say, "If you fear me." He doesn't say, "If you want blessings." He doesn't say, "If you want me to speak loudly again." No, he says, "If you love me." Obedience is not about control. It's not about rule keeping. It's not about earning God's voice. It's about relationship. It's simple. Jesus ties obedience to love because obedience is the posture of a heart that trusts the Father again, a heart that listens again, a heart that returns to the walk Micah described. Now, my analogy, and it's my analogy. Imagine a father raising a child. When the child is small, the father speaks constantly. Don't touch that. Come this way. Come on, hold my hand. Here, let me show you. And as the child grows, something shifts. Happened to each and every one of us. The father still loves, still watches, still guides. All of you fathers, all you mothers, it's not gender specific. But the child begins to test independence. We all did. Begins to tune out the father's voice, begins to say, "I know what I'm doing." Yes, we did. The father doesn't stop loving, though, do we? We don't stop caring. And the father doesn't stop being present. We never do. We do stop forcing our voice into the child's ear. Not because he's distant, but because the child is no longer listening. This is humanity's story. This is our story. In the first millennium of Scripture, God spoke loudly because humanity was spiritually young. But as time went on, mankind grew more independent, more self-assured, more convinced of its own wisdom. BSMS piled higher and deeper, hello. And obedience, the heart that listens, became rare. Not gone, not extinct, but no longer collective. And when obedience fades, God's direct presence becomes quieter. Not because he withdraws, but because we do. So what's that mean for us today? It means the distance we feel is not a distance God created. It's a distance obedience heals. When a child returns to the father and says, "Dad, I need your guidance again," the father doesn't hesitate. He doesn't punish. He doesn't shame. He opens his arms and speaks again to the child and helps him every way again. If we want God's presence to be more visible, more active, more direct in our world today, the path is not mysterious. It's obedience. Not obedience as legalism, or not obedience as fear, not obedience as ritual. Nope. Obedience as love. Obedience as trust. Obedience as a child returning to the Father's voice. I once said that if we wanted his presence back into the story, we would return to obedience. And where does that return begin? By living out the word, by returning again and again to what God has already shown us, by letting his truth shape our choices, our conversations, and our hope, by turning our hearts not toward our own interests or our own themes, but toward his. Micah calls us to walk with God. Samuel calls us to walk with God. Jesus calls us to love God. Walk, obey, love. When those three things come together, something happens. The Father's voice becomes clearer, his presence becomes nearer, his guidance becomes more tangible. Because he changed? But we did. That's what it's going to take. God has not stopped speaking. He's not withdrawn from the story. He's not stepped away from his people. He's the same Father he has always been, loving, present, patient, and ready. If we want to hear him again as clearly as the old saints did, we must return to the posture they had, a posture of obedience, a posture of humility, a posture of love. Because to obey is better than sacrifice. To walk with him is better than independence. And to love him is to listen again. May we, as his children, return to the Father's voice, and may his presence once again fill our story. Go with God. Be at peace.